And we're off and running. Welcome everyone again to our Train the Trainer. We have an exciting, once again, presentation to provide to you. This presentation is going to discuss day 4 of our Training Academy agenda. It's a continuation of the CAC, a little different from what we did last week. Last week, we had a focus on the CAC director, the impact a managing director can have for those directors and assistant directors. This week, we're going to cover an important piece of the CAC that I'll cover in a few seconds. But we're also going to talk about the CAC structure in general, the whole blueprint that goes into the thinking of each of us when it comes to planning for a CAC. And so we've got quite a bit to go over. Again, I mentioned last week that this is 2 days worth of discussion for our directors and for you when you come to the academy. And so there's quite a bit to go over. And why is that? It's because that we want to show the impact of what the CAC will do in the community and the impact that by having a CAC supporting the rest of Ron's programs and the Alliance's programs, that we are able to really provide a tremendous support to the people everywhere. And that support can only turn into a community that will thrive and will grow and will be abundant and will be happy and will be joyful, will be in gratitude. And we've got to start with the first brick. That first brick is the most important one to get started with. But as we build this CAC community, it's going to be tremendous. And it's going to be a lot of work, but that's okay, because we're okay to tack on that challenge with all the other challenges we'll have, and we'll have the solution to each challenge that we have. As long as we're able to move forward, there won't be anything to stop us from supporting and providing help to our communities. And so thank you for being here. We will spend a little bit of time discussing this. Hopefully we'll have some time to get some questions answered. Ron, did you have anything to say before we get started?
Well, I would like to just open up from my remarks that we have so many things in the CAC that need to be covered. The actual director's training will be intensive, because the major part of what Loved One Society can do will be in the environments that are created with the CACs. It's hard to say how important they are, because once we get into it, you'll see for yourself. Everybody will see for yourself that this kind of information, the CACs, came directly from our Father in heaven, and from him through us to we created in the spirit world, and it was brought down through me. But we all created it before we came here to the earth. So this is yours as much as it is mine. I'm just the overseer. And I'm hoping that in doing this, we'll have a greater understanding, a functional understanding of what the CAC can do. It's the boots on the ground. This is where it happens. And so this is important information. That's what I have to say.
Thank you, Ron. And we appreciate you telling us and reminding us this. And I think it's an important piece to lead off with, because as I cover just the opening comments of what we're going to present tonight, I'm also going to talk about something that's I think is going to be very important for each of us to listen to. And I hope you do. I mean, you'll choose whether to resonate with it or not. So, Ron, thank you for that. Mr. and Mrs. Mouse, how are you tonight?
We are stupendous. We're so glad to be here with all of our family, and Ron, yourself, and all of our admins. It's such a blessing. So thank you.
And we're so excited. Our tails are all tied up in knots.
Okay.
I
Okay, we're
never
gonna,
Tied
know what
together,
he's
that's
doing.
good.
yeah, we're gonna
Always.
let that go so you can untie the knots. And
Yeah, there
we're
you
gonna
go.
jump right into our training. Okay. So again, tonight we're going off of day 4 of the training agenda for the Training Academy. And once again, if you are new in this Zoom call, you'll know that these train the trainers that we have done are a preparation for you more than it is for the directors. And this is very important because we want you to be as prepared as possible so that then when the time comes that we're getting close to doing the actual training academy, you have some material that you can provide and present to directors to prepare them so that when they come to the training, their eyes, their hearts are going to be wide open to the creative, intense creativity that we're going to give to them in this training. And Ron is correct that we will do a more in-depth training with you and with the directors coming to the academy, because we're going to spend 5 days doing this. And we've done this in 5 weeks, but we've only really taken about an hour at each time. Whereas we're going to go 6, maybe 7 hours on some days to cover the material that we are condensing for you in the Train the Trainer here. So that's what we're doing. That's what our plan is, and we'll continue to move forward with it. So this managing director's preview that we're doing tonight is day 4, and that is developing this CAC action plan. And not only the structure that supports the community, but also whatever programs within the CAC that you will do, any projects that will need to be done, any people that need to be served. So at the CAC will provide an entire element of that. That's going to be most of our discussion tonight. But we're also going to spend a few minutes talking about one of the most important things in a CAC that we're going to be able to do, and that's the offering of these agreements to the local businesses, to both the business owners and to the community employees. And we'll come back to that when we get to that slide, but let me go ahead and advance and say, thanks again, Ron, for your comments. I did want to provide another video song for you to listen to. And so let me give you a preface of this song first. This song is basically to tell you to not give up. During this process of Train the Trainer, you have thought, some of you have thought, that this is just way too overwhelming for me, way too much for me. Some of you have thought, nope, I am resonating with this. I'm excited. I can't wait to get ready and going on my project. And then there are some of you that are in between. And wherever you fall, wherever it is that you land, just know that you are here for this exact reason. And that no matter how you feel, you will be prepared when the time comes. And so I just say to you, as I pull up the screen for this song, is to just not give up. No matter what it takes, and even if it's just by merely keeping up with the preparation, don't give up. Keep moving forward. Okay, and with that, let's just take a listen.
I will take a chance to be who I'm meant to be. I won't let fear keep me from trying. It's time for me to make a change, to start living the life I want. I'm gonna reach for the sky, way up high. I'm never giving up. It's up to me to see who I can be, make dreams reality. I'm never giving up. I'm never giving up. I'm never giving up. I'm never giving up. best of me. I want to be proud of who I'm becoming. It's time for me to make a change, start living the life I want. I'm gonna reach for the sky, way up high. I'm never giving up. It's up to me to see who I can be, make dreams reality. I'm never giving up. I'm never giving up. I'm never giving up. I'm never giving up. Step by step, I will make my own way. Even when others don't believe me, brick by brick, I will build my destiny. I can't wait to see who I've become. I'm gonna reach for the sky, way up high. I'm never giving up. It's up to me to see who I can be, make dreams reality. I'm gonna reach for the sky, way up high. I'm never giving up. It's up to me to see who I can be, make dreams reality. I'm never giving up. 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 I'm never giving up.
Okay, folks, we're never giving up. And this is just the beginning of what is to come. You don't need to have fear. You just need to step in what you've been brought here to do. And every one of us can do it. And so just don't give up. Let me add my presentation back on the screen. Actually, let me do something real quick. If it's all right with you, I want to find somebody I have to add. Give me 10 seconds here. Okay, we're ready to go. Now I can bring that back up. Okay, so in our presentation tonight, this evening, today, this afternoon, we're going to discuss the CAC, but from a different perspective. Well, first, we're going to talk about one of the most important things in the CAC that can be done for people in communities. Ron has given us the information on the RSS action plan. We've discussed it on a previous day. It is going to be an important piece of getting things started in this abundance building for every person. And it's going to be relatively simple for everyone to do because you just sign a beneficiary up and then just let it go. And so we've gotten that action plan done and understood. We've talked about the PHF, which is going to be a tremendous addition to the action plans of providing homes and rentals for people. So what we don't want to forget about is this piece for the CACs. And that is the CACs will be offering the opportunity to pay employees in local businesses. And so that is probably an unknown success than that can be for your community, because we only think of the other two programs. But I want you to think for a moment, and I've actually heard this a number of times over the years, and actually most recently, where a person has said to me that, well, Dominic, when we get a chance to get the benefits and abundance of the RSS program and the PHF and Nasara Jasara and recouping debt and everything, well, why would people want to work? And so it's a good question, but at the same time, we understand probably the simplest of answers, and that is, you can't, no matter what kind of abundance you have and whatever kind of money that you have received, you can't do anything with it if you don't have products. You can't build a house if you don't have the builders to do it. We are going to be given a landscape of rebuilding the entire planet. And so the only way to do that is to offer employment or help support individuals and businesses in communities so that they can employ the people they need to then support the community in growing. And that's everywhere. And so if we don't have that support, then what we have in abundance really doesn't matter. And so it's been said a lot that people will just come flowing in to want to help. And why is that? Because we have taken this element of enslavement where people needed to earn money in order to pay bills, whether they liked the job they were working or the business that they owned or not. They were doing it in order to cover their expenses. Well, we're going to take care of that. In the LWS programs, that will cause the person to change their mentality to abundance and not ever have to worry about money again. To the point then that they will want to do things that they love to do instead of things that are out there now that they need to do. That in itself will be the igniting of our communities. But we have an opportunity through this discussion tonight, and then your presentation to each of your directors, to impact the community by supporting them with setting up agreements with local businesses. And there are two types that we're talking about here. I'm not going to go into heavy detail about this because I promise you, when we get to the academy, we are going to pound this very hard so that people understand not only what they can do to impact the communities in understanding this, but what they can do to go talk to people in sharing the benefits of them doing this. And I've put a few on the screen here that I'll cover. And so first, the CAC directors will train directors and assistant directors to visit local businesses and operators in each community and offer them a BOAA, which is a business owner agreement account, in order to support their business growth. So in other words, CAC directors and assistant directors will go to local businesses and discuss with the local business owner one of the support services that are going to be provided, support resources of being able to sign their employees up and themselves up on agreements. The first one being the business owner agreement account. And so we will offer an agreement to the business owner to take care of their wage or salary. Might be as much as double what they're going to normally get paid. We'll double it. Might even be that it gets tripled. I mean, that's entirely up to you because you will have the funds to do so, and you can talk alongside the business owner and develop a relationship to determine what's going to be a fair amount to do and what the business owner has in their mind is what they would like to be done. And then along with that is that we will include raises for the business owners. They'll get a penny per minute increase for every quarter. And so that adds up over a 7-year period if there's a 7-year contract, which is negotiable, but that's what we're thinking that we would like to ask. During that 7 years, just in the allocated bonus alone of a penny per quarter, per minute per quarter, that's going to add up to 28 cents per minute. And that is a tremendous amount. If you think about that, that's, quite a bit of funding for them. And what it does, it just adds to the piece of abundance to where they can thoroughly enjoy their business, thoroughly enjoy their job, and not be pressured by all the things that can go on, because they'll be able to handle it much better. The attitude of that business owner will be tremendously changed. You know, along with that, we might have health coverage and other benefits that can be discussed. But the important piece of this is that the CAC director and assistant directors will work alongside each business owner to get them to understand and come up with what they feel in their mind is the best for their business, and then interact and support that with whatever downloads that they come up with and are decided for. So that's the first piece, is this business owner piece. So the second piece of this is the employment.
Let me just say a few things here before we move on.
Go right ahead.
A little bit of background, and you were approaching this in the beginning of your what you were saying. Many of our Loved One Society people are older. I'm 77. My body is not like it used to be able to get up and do things the way that I would like to do them. So we thought the idea that's generally thought of is the med beds. So we were wanting to look for med beds so that we could heal our bodies. And there was some information from Q that he wasn't really sure that that's the best process for us. And his reasons for that is because we as humanitarians, we as children of our Father in heaven, have the ability to take care of these things ourselves. And I argued with him, well, if I'm going to heal my body, I've not been given any schooling, any ideas of how to do that, because I've lived with underneath the cabal's training and conditioning. For me to be not who I am, really, but to be an artificial me, a very small percentage of what I really am. Well, over the years, the thousands of years perhaps, that we have been under the control of these cabal people, we have been robbed of our evolutionary process of becoming creator gods ourselves. Do you think the heavens are aware of this? Yes, they are. And when the light wave comes, the light wave is what we would consider to be our med bed. So what does that mean to us on an individual basis? That means that our bodies will be renewed to its perfected blueprint that was given to us by the heavens for us to be using in a physical form, physicality. And that body will not die. Death is part of the cabal organization. Do you think they're good enough to do that? Yes, they are. They can come in and take away 10 of our 12 strands of DNA. They can do that, and they did. It's called the karmic wheel of birth and rebirth, or death and rebirth. That's been done to us. And God says, no, we're not going to go, we're not doing that anymore. We're going to give you what you would have evolved to over the period of time that the cabal has taken away from you. This will be our perfected blueprint body. I'm not saying this the first time. This is what if you ask me, I'll tell you. Perfected blueprint body that was designed for us to have. That's where all of our cells in our bodies, as they're recreated, will recreate it in its perfected form. Our bodies will not die. That's an interesting concept, isn't it? So here I am, 77 years old, and my body's just kind of falling apart on its own because I believed in things that the body will do over an aging period of time. That was controlled and taught to us, but that's no longer what's going to take place. We're going to have our perfected blueprint body so that we have a fully functioning brain, a fully functioning body that's capable of doing things that we never thought possible. So when you look at the idea of creating CACs all over the world, in the millions perhaps, but you on an individual basis will be expanding your CACs because you will have the body that will support you in what you want to accomplish. This is part of the plan. And one of the things that we seem to do is that we seem to take where we are now and plan on that for the future. Can our minds just reject all of that garbage and say, I am the one that's going to create the things in my life the way that I want them? I will have the power. I will be a creator God of the experiences of my own life. I am the Lord God of this being. I have my sovereignty. What I'm creating is my domain, my kingdom. Have we ever heard of a kingdom before? The kingdom of God? As children of God, don't you think we get to create our own kingdom? We are. I can testify to you that that is true. So you look at the CACs and you wonder how you're going to, don't wonder. You'll have a person that's prepared, an agent from the alliance that will be your counselor. That will be your counselor, having knowledge of everything that is. That counselor will not take over for you. You can't ask them to do your job for you. They will counsel you in doing the things that will be for your best interest. This is what's coming for us. We just have to endure it through the darkness until we come into the light. And I say to the heavens, there's light at the end of the tunnel, but there's a hell of a lot of alligators between here and there that we have to either walk over or whatever to be able to make it to the light. He says that's part of the journey. That's part of experiencing all things. It's just part of it. We are in hell right now. We are going through hell and going towards the light that will be the dawn of a new day. You are special in the sight of our Father in heaven. You are a unique individual. And that uniqueness that is yours has been given to you by your Father in heaven. That uniqueness is absolutely essential for the oneness to exist. Not one person can be eliminated in the oneness to be whole. If one person is eliminated, it's not whole. You're not going to get out of this. You're going to go through this. You will not give up, like the song says. You will not give up because you are going to be who you really are instead of the artificial crap that we've been taught by life's experience thus far. Your bodies will be renewed. You'll start a new timeline in your life experience. That is what is coming for us. That is what we wanted and we deserve, and we have the right inherited from our Father in heaven. We have the right to do these things. We have the right to create the experiences of life that we want for ourselves. And we give that opportunity to our children to create what they want for themselves. And this is what it's going to be like. We've never had this before. This is the golden age of mankind. We will live for thousands and thousands of years if that's what we want to do. There's other things along with it, but let's just let it be for right now as we talk about our participating in the CACs. Because our bodies will be renewed and we will have the ability to do whatever we want to do and need to do in service to our fellow man. We will be the example. And they who are able to get through this light wave will follow that example and will know from within that they are part of the whole and essential for their lives to be here. Nobody is negated. We're all God's. And we will be acting like it in creating the things that God wants us to do. I didn't mean to take this long, but I think that is essential for us to understand, because we're going to be building a brand new earth, a brand new economic system. We will have the tools that God has given us to make that happen. Quantum financial system, quantum education, quantum internet, quantum, all of these wonderful things that are being ours by God's command. So, okay, I think I'm finished with that. Dom, let's go ahead and move forward.
Ron, I'm sad. I mean, I'd like you to go on all night if you'd like. It's just such an amazing and such an appropriate time to mention this, Ron. So thank you very much for that.
Yeah.
And with all of
Thank our
us,
Father.
absolutely. And with all of us, this is something that we are meant to do. And so for me, at least, my attitude going forward, and has been this way for quite a while, is not to even think about the things I can't do or the things that might limit me, but I'm thinking only of the things that I will do and the things that won't limit me. And so this will give us an opportunity to do this in the CAC, because the RSS has its specific goals in mind, and so does the PHF and the ESS and the ICCH. They all have their own purpose. But the CAC is going to build these communities. See, the roadmap is very simple. We're going to give a landscape that's pretty blank. We're going to have to recreate and rebuild this world. So we're going to have to offer ourselves a way to instruct our people, employees, to create products and services, because we're also going to take away the restrictions of commerce. There's going to be commerce available all over the world, if not beyond this world. And so that's going to require us to employ many people loving the jobs that they do because they don't have to look over their shoulder wondering if they have enough money in the bank. That's not a given any longer. That challenge will be solved once we get started on our projects. And so when we talk about these agreements, and I'll shift back over to the employment agreement accounts in a second, I didn't want to forget this one screen in the middle where it talks about the benefits. You know, we're not going to necessarily be able to go right out of the chute and start have our directors knock on doors of business owners and say, hey, hi, I'm so-and-so, I've got this great program and we're going to sign you up on a great program. And the person may or may not know who that other person is. I guess what I'm trying to say is we have to build a relationship. Part of the relationship when we instruct, and this is our part, the managing directors, when we instruct our directors and assistant directors to go into these businesses is to build a relationship with the people. And one of the ways to do that is to talk about the advantages of services and resources that we have to offer. And so for the business owners in their businesses or the industries, the advantage for doing the BOAA and getting their employees to sign up on employment agreement accounts as well is that we alleviate their labor cost. So what does that mean? That means that they don't have to be concerned about paying labor because we're going to do it for them. We're going to set it up and we're going to operate it and we're going to keep it and manage it along with their input and their people there. So it's going to be a cooperative effort, but the actual expense of that labor doesn't come from the business owner anymore. It comes from the CAC. Can you imagine what a savings that's going to be for businesses? Because on an average, I know in industries, large and small, it runs about 30% for every dollar, 30 cents of a dollar goes towards paying labor. It's quite a bit. You take that away, and now you've provided this abundance track for a business owner to take. There'll be no taxes to pay to anyone because taxes will be gone. There'll be no taxes. So no taxes to add into that picture. What kind of savings will that be to a business owner? They have to pay taxes on the employees that they have payroll for. That's going to be gone. And then the CAC, by allowing these employers to see what you're offering them, will be the support to where every employer will want to come in and talk to the CAC about a new idea they have. You can see how this is going to explode if you think about it and you prepare for it. So the final thing is that with the CAC offering these employment agreements, it makes these other programs almost like it's just icing on the cake. Extra programs, extra funds, extra ability, extra joy, extra abundance, to where now people are all supporting the community to grow because nothing can stop them. They're not inhibited by the amount of money that they're supposed to make. That is taken away from the picture. We've taken that objection completely away. And so the other part of this responsibility for CAC directors and assistant directors is the employment agreement accounts. And basically what we'll do there is allow the business owners to come in and discuss what would be a workable, constructed employment agreement to set up for their employees, and then have the business owner or both the business owner and the CAC directors work together to sign up employees on employment agreement accounts. And again, we're not going to go into detail of what that can mean, but in some cases it could be significant for people and much more in a way of increase that they've never seen before. So now they'll be excited to go into work. Something else about that. An employer could hire 4 people to do one person's job if they choose to. Why? What if in fact a person only wants to work 4 hours in a day, or another person only wants to work 3, or they have family that they need to go get and take home and be around. And so you provide extra employees to fill those roles, but there's not an issue of worrying about having to pay them. So the CAC director will sit with the business owner and they'll have those discussions and create this business plan for each business to support the employees that work there. Now, let me ask this question, and it doesn't require an answer, but what do you think an employee is going to feel like when they work for a company that is offering them such a wonderful package of abundance? Do you think that employee would ever want to leave that employer? Probably not. The whole joy factor of this will keep employees in their jobs for quite a long time. And once again, we'll talk about this, but we'll offer a 7-year contract for this employment agreement. There'll be some things to discuss so that the employee understands what all that means, but we won't talk about that tonight. It's available to go see it up on the website, but we will go into detail about this when we get to the training academy. I promise you that. So let's just say this in finality of employment. Employment's just going to be a very important facet of a community's condition. And where the CAC is involved, the person's job will turn into joy. The employer will have a tremendous amount of joy knowing that all they need to worry about is in the development and the training of their employees to make them better people and better workers, which will happen automatically when you satisfy the need for financial situations. When you take that away, you've taken a big objection away. It makes it easier to train and develop people. But employment is going to be a large process for us in the world, in our economies. If we're going to do interstate commerce, we need employees to create products and services to cross the boundaries of every country, which is going to happen. And that's what's expected. So we must be prepared to instruct our directors so that they can be prepared to support those communities. And that's the playbook. That's how it's going to work. And so directors will also be there to offer employees the RSS beneficiary program along with the employer, which will extend that abundance with the holding accounts and the bonuses that are available. That will just create an abundance on top of abundance. And so you can even include large organizations, clubs, and nonprofits to register people. The directors will consult and support the area for local municipalities, the governance teams that are going to need infrastructure grants, building playgrounds, equipment, new development, new businesses. And so that CAC director and assistant directors will be extremely important as they work within the confines of those communities. And the people will come to them once they start the relationship. It's going to be easy to continue that relationship because it'll be ever going. Okay.
Let me just make one point here along with this. The initial, what is the CAC? Community Assistance Centers. Community. You have business owners that serve the community with the things that they do. If you get in a crash, you have a place you can go get your car fixed. If you want to go out for a lovely night having dinner, there's restaurants. The most important thing is that these things or these businesses that serve the community stay in business. And that's why we go to the business owners, increase their value or increase their income. And so that they can continue to serve. What if they don't get as many people as they got last year and all that sort of stuff? It doesn't matter. They're still going to get their funds. They're still going to stay in business as long as there's businesses that need to serve the community. This whole situation requires the farmers, the people who produce food, the people who distribute the food and bring it to the restaurants. All of that chain of events chain of people will have an employment contract or a business owner contract, agreement. And so what we're doing here now is we're supporting the community with the things that we're going to do. That opens a door for us to do a whole lot more than we had anticipated. And just in closing with these remarks, I'm just going to say that before we thought that the value of your projects was the value that you get at the retention appointments, but that's not true. Your projects they might be passionate and so forth. You can do that within the confines of your activities with the CAC. But the most important part is that the CAC is going to employ people to serve that community in which the CAC is found. And it's opening up, the CACs will be the vehicle to help people with their private home funding, and buying and selling houses and rentals, and people who own buildings that rent, they'll be a part of this. So this is important for us to consider these things as we move along with our presentation tonight. Thank you, Don.
Thank you, Ron. Appreciate that. So in closing, again, on the employment side, just know how very important this is. And if you don't know, hopefully after this presentation and you have a chance to think through it a little bit, you'll realize that it is going to be crucial that we find as many qualified, as many ready individuals, and look in every single basket we can, turn over every single stone we can of an individual with a big heart to bring onto your CAC. And why? Because we're going to need that. We're going to need the resources. We're going to need the employees. We're going to need the people. And so past the employment piece, because as you can tell, that's going to be a very big discussion when we get to the academy, we wanted to shift gears and talk about some of the community resources and the needs assessments that are going to be out there. And what does that mean? That means that we are going to be given, again, a blank sheet of paper. And we have to provide this rebuilding of resources. And so to do that is going to require a bunch of conversations with a bunch of different people that have experience in a bunch of different areas. And so to provide these assessments is going to take time for us. And so here's something of a suggestion for everyone here. I've thought about this a lot. And when we have the opportunity to get started, it's going to take some time, you could probably tell, to build this ship, of a CAC. It's just going to have all the players in place and all the responsibilities understood and all the plans that we're going to follow through to then open the floodgates to allow the people to come in to service them. That's going to take time to build that. And so what can we do in the interim to get out amongst the community and support? Well, one of the things I thought about with the CAC is, for me, in any event, is to just focus on 5 different areas of a community. Until I get my CAC up to where I feel comfortable with what my areas of responsibility will be for the communities that I'm going to serve and the people that are going to serve them with me, I've kind of done a triage of things to think about to get started with getting yourselves out into the community to talk to people that then can lead to those people coming in and developing the needs of what the community really needs. And so here are the 5 things. When you start your project, if you choose, because this is what I will do, you start your project in a community based on the needs for food, water, shelter, power source, and health. And so if you are addressing those 5 areas, there are plenty of opportunities to support people in those communities until you get the systems and the people in place in your CAC the way you want it to be and the way your CAC director wants it to be. Until you do that, then act on the needs of the community when it comes to food, water, shelter. And I left one out. We can add a 6th one, clothing. Food, shelter, water, clothing, power source, and health. think about those 6 areas. And then when people have a need, generally speaking, it's going to be in one of those areas. And so you can there to provide these little small trails of support. And then as you build more people and have more discussions about the resources and support you'll give in your CAC, you'll add more people to the fold. And before you know it, you'll be up and running, and then the doors won't be just cracked open. They'll be open all the way, ready to support. Okay. So another part of this process of needs assessment is to consider the demographics that are involved with it. You know, you want to understand the kind of area that you're going to be supporting, and every area is going to be somewhat different. A metropolitan area is not going to be the same as a rural area. An area that's close to the coastline is going to be entirely different than an area that's in the mountains. And so it's just going to be a little bit different. And so you have to acknowledge that and then be understanding to how you're going to develop it. And so there'll be groups that you'll have to consider: homeless and displaced, people in public housing, veterans, seniors, families, singles, an indigenous group and people from other countries, children, thinking about the children, etc. And so the best way to support how to operate your CAC is to understand the area that you're going to be supporting from, and then developing relationships with people to come in with the expertise to support you with ideas in growing those areas of the community. Something else that Ron did mention with the light wave, we have a lot of seniors right now that are extremely wise. And I'll make a joke on myself. I'm kind of a wise person, but we have a lot of seniors that are wise, but their health isn't doing very well. When the light wave changes their body back to that perfected state, they're going to still have that wisdom. So they can be your best employees because they have so much to offer, having been around quite a long time to understand, witness, and be a part of working and living a life. And so they could be some of your best hires. Keep that in mind. And so you want to evaluate and situate the CAC in the best way you can to service that community. So just consider this. This slide presentation is for you to take back and read through, and then think how you would apply that in the CAC areas that you're going to support. Okay. Let's see here.
Dom, there's something, just an idea, a little philosophy, whatever you want to call it.
Sure.
The reason why we do a 7-year agreement with people is that after the 7 years, if they're young people, they may want to stay in that business, or they may want to create one of their own. And they'll have the income to do that. And so it's a processing of people to get into to mature and grow and develop, and into the wise people that have been around for a lot longer than others. And I'm not referring to myself that way. Everybody will have the spirit to be with them, but they can work for 7 years or even 15 years. Offer them a 15-year contract. It doesn't matter. They can stay in that job for 15 years, and then they can pass it on to somebody else and go start something else. That they might have after 15 years, they might have a better idea of what they want to do in service to mankind. And that's open for anybody that really wants to get in there, because there's no limit to service. And so we're just preparing people to have the money in their older age that they can support themselves and start new businesses. Let's go on.
Okay. And Ron, if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, in the agreement process, if they satisfy the 7 or 15-year contract, the money that they have received during that time, the download per minute continues after they leave.
Yes.
If they decide to move into a new business and want to do something on their own, all they have to do is satisfy the 7-year and they can start a business, and the money that they earned during that time working continues after they leave. If they don't satisfy the agreement that's agreed upon, that will end. But if they do satisfy it, it continues. We continue to pay for it. Why? Because we can afford to.
Yeah, there was somebody that said something, how do we know if we're going to have enough money to do this? Well, I would just like to give you an idea. Here in America, there's $52 trillion worth of homes, condominiums, homes, whatever. In the whole world, just, I don't know if that's an indicative thing, but we're talking about trillions. We're not talking about quadrillions yet. We're not talking about quintillions yet. Quadrillion is 1,000 trillion. A quintillion is 1,000 quadrillions. And it goes right on up. And when we start talking about the things that are going to happen, virtually one of us managing directors will have enough money to do most everything that we are talking about here. Just one of us. There will never be a lack of money for the things that God wants to have done. It's just not going to happen. So don't ever worry. If you're worried about, oh, I don't have enough Zim bonds or whatever, just talk to your counselor and see what would be appropriate as for a rate, because it doesn't matter what your Zim are, it depends on your rate. Some people are in the 10 million. Some people are in the 100 million. There's no limit to the rate. Okay, so don't put a limit on the amount of money that you're going to get. Just raise the rate. Let's go on.
Thank you. And so keep in mind, we've talked about the inner structure of the CAC, but also keep in mind that there'll be a consideration for the exterior look of the facility too. And so does that facility follow the core values and the mission statement you've stated? And that'll be for each of us to decide. Let me say that again. That's going to be for each of us managing directors to decide. That's not for Ron to decide. That's not for Mr. and Mrs. Mouse to decide for you. That's for each of us to take the responsibility for that. And the time to take that responsibility is now, in this preparation of how to present this to directors before the academy. That's our part right now. This is what we're giving you, is this train the trainer, so you have the resources available to start the conversations with directors that then leads them and yourself potentially to come to the training academy. But back to the exterior part of this, you want to have the CAC, the image of that CAC, to just be expressive in the mind, in the heart center, in the impression that you want to leave, in the energy that it will create, in the physical outlook for it, so that it is a place that people will want to come to, will love to come to, and know that when they come, that they will always have something of a solution when they leave. And so not only do you think about the interior of it, think about the exterior. Okay, so then one of the things that I have been a proponent of and talked quite a bit about a few years ago was the strategy meetings that you have and the building of these strategy teams and how those teams can really support a community very quickly. It takes time to do all this, but as you build your community and you build the products and services for the community and you build the employment opportunities that will come with all of that, then what happens is you will have a select group of people want to come in and be a part of continuing that growth. And so I see the areas that we will service, the communities that we will provide services for, I see this as a revitalization. Once it starts the revitalization, it turns into a stabilization where it stabilizes. And then it turns into a thriving community where it offers unlimited opportunities of growth. And so you got to start somewhere, and we have to just start to pick up the pieces and rebuild immediately. Think for a moment a hurricane comes through a town, or a tornado, or a fire that burns down a home in a community. Most likely that this community is going to support the individuals or the things that occurred in the community to help revitalize it and bring it back. They're going to actually individually want to jump in and help, just like they will in this case. And so initial strategy meetings to discuss these assessments and these needs of the community can then involve the interaction of the LWS action plans all across the board. The plans that the Alliance has given us, plans from our father that he has provided us, will be a source of solutions for a lot of things that community leaders will want and will ask for. And so, but we have to get those people into a meeting, comfortable enough to have discussions on how to move the communities forward. So consider building strategy teams, strategy boards, advisory councils to advise and direct a plan for growth in each community. You may only start out with one or two, depending on the size of the community. That's okay. We start somewhere and then we build on it. Before you know it, you'll have many people wanting to be involved with it. And then we talk about ways to make the community supporting each other. And eventually it'll just support itself. Having trips, for example, plan a trip for the entire community to all go away together. If you can make that work, plan it and put it out there. Why not? A vacation trip for every community member to take advantage of in that community. It'll shut down the community for a period of time, but that's okay. If the community is thriving, you'll be able to shut it down. But whatever is decided here will be up to each of us, working with those community individuals and then develop them into teams. As I plan to do in my CAC, I have a strategy team for every CAC and an executive one that overlooks those strategy teams. Same thing can happen with those communities. And so having a determined focus on a startup for a CAC, this providing of stabilization and growth, again, it's going to take a little bit of time. But when the machine is rolling and you're placing enough wood on the fire and you continually place more wood on the fire and keep the machine going, it'll just automatically grow itself. But you have to have a plan to do so. And you have to execute your plan. People can have the best plans in the world, but just don't have the ability to execute. You cannot have a good plan if you don't have a plan to execute. And so the plan starts basically just start it. If it needs to be adjusted, you adjust it. If some things that you've experienced from your plan caused a little bit of a problem or a challenge, it's okay. We've just learned something. That's all. It's an experience we went through that we learned from, but we can move on. We don't look behind us. We only stay and look in front of us. So in other words, what I'm saying is for each of us and your CAC directors to be the leaders of our team, to network with CACs from all areas. Any success out there can be something of an advantage to help and support the community. And so you may consider doing temporary satellites locations. If it's a rural area and you can't quite get to it, you may want to get to it through the use of a satellite type of CAC. You may want to have a CAC that is a mobile CAC so that if the people can't come to you because of where they are, you can get to them. You just continue to establish your plan and then allow the community to help support that plan. In essence, then they become the plan, if that makes sense. Once you build the people's confidence to support the community, they then take over because they know that whatever they want, we as the funding source for that CAC will support it. As long as it's not nefarious or can cause harm, we will support it. And so I spoke of the community stabilization, and it's critical because it in order for the business to start growing, you've got to stabilize the plan as to what things are going to look like in every avenue. How many grocery stores do we need to have in this community? Where are the groceries going to come from? What can we do in communication with farmers to discuss growing crops that then can be a part of the ESS action plan? And so all those things will eventually help the community stabilize. That then takes it to the next step, which is then community growth. There's nothing more impactful for a community to see a community consistently growing, and then that willingness to keep growing, to not just stand on laurels and say, this is all we need. We don't need to grow anymore. We're totally grown. No, you keep growing because there's always going to be more and more opportunities. And with that, there'll be more businesses started, more individuals wanting to get into industry and business, more people that want to learn. And it's just going to be an amazing journey to then get to that, what I call that working paradise, or that community paradise of all these things that come together. And now you see the community just grow on its own without any support or help. And so the conversation that we're having here now is just an overall understanding of developing this well-being within the community. And I'm just wondering, through the people that are listening to this on the recording or the people that are in this group tonight, how many of you can really feel the excitement of what is about to happen with all of this? Eventually will happen, let's say. How many of you are really excited for this? How many of you are ready for this challenge? How many of you are really, really understanding what we're going to do in communities to help the people? I know I am. I know Ron is. I know Mr. and Mrs. Mouse is. I know I can name many, many individuals that are. How many of us are really ready to take on the challenge? And that's what we're here to do, is to take on that challenge. And so whether it is a healing center that you want to build or repurpose, whether it is a housing program that you want to have for the homeless, or for children that are entering into the working world, whether it is activities and creative centers that you want to have for artistic talents, for technical skills, whatever it might be, those programs, those facilities that will be built will be something of an important piece to that community, because the community will be involved in the creation of it. Because I haven't talked about that very much. All of this about what we're talking about is our creative energy to build this community, to open our hearts and our minds to how our community will look, because we will be in charge of that. We will be creators of these communities. We being the managing directors and assistant directors and the community members that are going to be involved. We are all going to build this together through our creation and our creative talents. So a successful CAC is the result of basically everyone coming together to help each other. That's what's going to make a CAC great. And it isn't not going to happen in your area. It's just impossible. And so as we close the presentation for tonight, just keep in mind that there is no one who will start this for you. Basically, when everything gets started and we are starting our projects, LWS, Ron's going to be off running his projects. That's his baby. That's his project. And so we must be prepared to accepting the responsibility to take on this opportunity. It is why we are receiving the large funds and why we are here discussing this together. There's much time. There's going to be much to learn and plenty of time to learn it and to implement it. And with any project, those who are the most prepared and show the most determination to solving challenges and not trying to create challenges, but solving everything you can, make as much lemonade out of lemons that you can, they will be the best leaders for CACs. They will find the right people. They will communicate those responsibilities. They will allow them to spread their creative wings, their creative talents, because we'll all have that expanded creativity amongst us. And then as far as we as managing directors are concerned, we just sit back and get the next CAC built. When the one is running really good, you want to go find the next one to do, because you see the benefits of what one has done Now think that one droplet of a CAC in your community turns into 1 million around the world doing all the same thing for the same reason and for the same purpose. It's going to be beautiful. And keep in mind too, that the structure of the CAC doesn't necessarily have to just follow a building structure of any kind. Keep in mind that there's also mobile units available. Here's 2 side-by-side tractor trailers that when they disassemble the trailer part of it, comes to looking like a facility like this. In a matter of a day, they create a CAC facility out of trailer pieces that are then put together. And maybe it looks like this. Your CAC has, depending on the area, you might only want to have a limited space. This might be a CAC option for you. Or maybe you just decide to have it in a form of a bus that's flowing around the community to advertise your CAC or to talk about what it is, the support services that you'll provide. Maybe you have a bus that you'll carry on. Or even if you're in an area that doesn't support a very large population, maybe instead of having the construction of a building, maybe you just have a satellite that's built for you. This product is available to unfold in a day. And when it unfolds in a day, you have a building, you have an interior, you have everything you can have. Can this suit for a housing project for the homeless people? I bet it can. And it's actually it'll be very reasonably priced. What I say to everyone here is that there are going to be technological advantages to us providing these services and resources to those communities. And so all we have to do is prepare ourselves in this process of getting those directors to understand what it is that they're going to be taking responsibility for, and then just let them go. So I ask you in closing, what are you going to do to take this information and give it to those directors? How are you going to present this to those directors? Are you just going to give the information and tell them to look it over? Let me remind you that some of this information, if not all of it, is for managing directors only. What we would like you to do, if you choose, is to take the information, learn it, and then put it into your own words for your directors so that they can then be as excited about coming to the academy as I am excited about presenting this to you. So you can give them that excitement by putting this information that we have given you and will be giving you into your own words and instruct and educate and develop the heart mind of these individuals so that when they come to the academy, I'm expecting hundreds, if not thousands of questions. So be it. Let's do that. But that will be the result of our preparation, transitioning over to those directors to support them. So Ron, I'm pretty much done that part of the presentation. Did you have anything else?
Well, I would just like to say with these pictures,
Ron,
that
go ahead
we
and
have-
unmute yourself. For some reason, we can't hear you.
I can hear it.
just,
We can hear Ron.
We can hear Ron. Go ahead, Ron.
Yeah, it shows that your mic is open, Ron, but I couldn't hear you there.
okay. Can you hear me now? Hello?
Okay.
We
Yes,
can hear.
yes,
we can hear
we
you,
can.
Ron.
All right.
Everyone,
Mr. and Mrs. Mouse, any
We can
comments
hear-
on your end?
Well, we can hear Ron, so if you just want to mute
Okay.
Dom, we can let,
Dom
we
can't
can-
hear us. He's
Okay. okay, hold
text
on.
Dom.
Wondered if
Ron, if you'd like to go ahead, we can
quick
all hear
second
you
here.
and we will get.
Okay.
Go ahead.
What I wanted to,
Ron, I see that your mic is open and I see that you are speaking, but your volume is not. Your volume is either really low or I can't hear you. I don't know if anybody else can give me a thumbs up if you can hear Ron.
Okay, we're calling Dom. I just muted him. Go ahead, Ron.
okay, what I was looking at is the pictures that Dom has used to present this
Okay.
of the CACs. And that's
Yeah.
a very good
If you can't hear
example.
Ron, give me a thumbs up.
Can you hear me now? Have I lost you?
I can hear you. Dom Dom's just
Okay.
having a problem somehow. We're calling him on the phone, but
Hello.
Okay. Well, what I
Hi.
wanted to say is you look at these pictures of the CACs.
Okay, thanks.
tell him I'm muting him. Okay, we just
Some
got
are
sorry, Ron, go ahead.
some of these CACs are very modern. You know, one that you'd have an anti-gravity machine parked in front of it, or a parking lot for anti-gravity machines, and some of them are just more down to the earth. What we're trying to do with this project, with the CAC concept, is give you the basics of how it should run. That's the beginning point of your creative uses for what you came here to the earth to do. The CAC can be a place for your personal projects. You want to save puppies, and you could build a building that saves puppies, or whatever. My suggestion in the beginning: find a building in your area that you want your CAC, and either buy the building or lease it. And then you'll have plans that you want to do and how to organize things. We'll be involved in that because we're going to start building CACs. That's my desire, and I've asked the heavens to provide the funds for us to do that. So not only for the training of our managing directors, but also for this a CAC, and begin what do we put into it? What do we need? And of course, every different location might have a different need. In the inner cities or larger cities, there's going to be different than the farming communities. It's all going to be according to what you want to do. This is just giving you some ideas on how to do that. The most important thing is you need to show up for work. You need to show up, and you need to let Father know that you want to talk to him, and that you're open to receive those confirmations that you are entitled to. The only thing that's stopping you from doing that is your thought processes. Get to work. There's nothing better that you can do as far as anything to do with our Loved One Society program. There's nothing better that you can do than learn how to talk to Father in heaven and listen while he talks to you. A two-way conversation. Absolutely essential for you. Now, we're going to have a new body. That'll give you an opening. You'll understand why. That communication process will be very, very easy for you. All of your DNA will be, your DNA is just a structure for God to contact you and for you to receive. Our bodies were built for this. So I hope you take it upon yourself to do that. And what I'm what I'm talking about now is a critical point. And as you go ahead and do these kinds of things for yourself, you will find such joy and happiness that you couldn't imagine it. You can't imagine it now because it'll always be better than we thought we could have. I send my blessings and love to all of you. Now, Don, we have about 15 minutes. If you want to open up for a few questions, then I'm certainly welcome for that.
Apologize. I have no idea what happened, but it was on my end that I lost you. So I apologize for that. And again, we would love to take a few questions here. But before we do, I just ask each individual person, is it important to ask questions? Or is it important to start figuring out how you are going to take the time to apply what it is that we're bringing to you for your use, for your abilities to instruct your directors and prepare them? So I am all about having Ron answer questions, and I know Ron loves to do it. And I'm all about you asking it, but we also have to start this understanding of preparation. And each time that we just lay it on the table is a time that we're going to get closer and closer to the reality of not being ready and prepared for what it is to come. So think about that as we go forward. Mr. and Mrs. Mouse, do you want to take a few questions?
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Zoom user one.
Before we go to the questions, I just wanted Ron to know that the Spanish chat has been listening and enjoying it immensely. They've had 220 people on their side, and I just thought you might like to know that. And I will take a question from them real quick.
And also with that, Juan had shared the one of the songs we played this morning, which Carlos really didn't enjoy. It was a blessing to all. And we are working about bringing in the different cultures because we're all one, and we'll work on that.
So Ron, Franklin asks, how will the payments to the people who work in my team regarding schedules, the days, will it be like in the third dimension, or will there be any change regarding this? Greetings and a hug of light. Ron, did you hear the question?
Did we lose you?
Did we lose you, Ron?
Yeah, it looks like that Ron has left the building.
Ah, darn.
He must be with
Okay.
Elvis.
Yeah, it's left the building. Let me, if I may, can I try to answer that for them?
Yeah, please do.
Okay, so it's a good question. The reasoning and the thoughts behind anything we do going forward is what we choose it to be. Remember, I stated in the presentation, we are the creator beings. We are the ones that are going to create the new communities, the new ways of working, the new product designs, the new way to approach this from an abundant side versus a lack and restricted side. So what it is that you decide is what it is, along with what the community says is what it will be. You get to make those choices. There isn't anybody else that will have funding restrictions. We are the funding source. So allow the people to create their own reality of what it will be instead of what they've experienced it to be in the past. So the answer of 3D is not going to exist as long as we want to move it progressively forward out of that 3D into what we will create for the future. And that's how I would answer that.
Thank you, Dom. Yes, we've had that conversation many times about letting all of our teammates that are going to be in the CAC to have counterparts so that that position will always be filled and people can get the times that they need to be with their family and work the work schedule to benefit. So we'll go to the next question.
I have this question.
We have one more question from chat and then we'll go to a couple raised hands.
Okay, this question is from, I can't see the name. The question is, will there be language replicators that will allow us to work and communicate with others on an international basis regarding CACs and cross-teaming and other communities outside the US? If you'd like me to answer that, Dom, I could answer that for him.
Sure, go ahead, Jim.
That depending on where your heart is, that after the flash, we might even have telepathic abilities and that we would be able to understand and communicate from our heart. That's part of the flow. But there will be other tools available as people mature at their own rate, and that will bring it into the point of better communication. Would you like to add anything to that, Dom?
No, actually, I was thinking the same exact thing. There'll be technology that'll be released that has been suppressed to address situations of language, but don't think for a moment that we're not going to have the abilities to communicate not only with other cultures around the world, but we'll be talking to animals. We'll be talking to many, many, many more people and many, many, many more beings through telepathy and other sources, and just allow that to be true, because our entire way of thinking is going to change. It's going to be opened up. The bloom of our entire perfected body will open up. And when it does, we're going to have abilities that we didn't know that we had.
Very well said, Don. Okay, let's take Zoom user number 2. We will open your mic. Go ahead and ask your question.
You're unmuted.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Roger.
Okay, I had a question for Ron. I hope he comes back. This is the question. Good evening, everyone. This is Kevin. Good evening, Dom, Mr. and Mrs. Mouse. Good evening, Ron, wherever you are, and LWS family. Okay, here's the question. In the event of Nasara Jasara and everything being completed in 4 to 6 weeks, will all the educational materials be readily available to the managing directors immediately, or are they still under development? And here's another question. Just have a couple here. Some older souls might ask, can we just commit to 2 years, then renew? I'm pretty sure that should be a possibility, you know, for people that aren't really sure, or I don't know, just as an option for elderly folks.
So Kevin, let me go to the second question first. What do you mean by 2 years to renew? What does that mean?
Well, okay. Say we put them under initial contract of 2 years, and they're good workers and they're happy, but they just wanted to take that 2 years to give it a shot and see, you know, what they wanted to do. And, you know, maybe they wanted to do something after a couple of years. But then again, maybe after a couple of years, they really were in love with what they were doing. And they just, yeah, sign me up for 7 this time, because I enjoy what I'm doing so much. And you know, we are eternal now, so yeah, for sure. But so the initial transition, they're a little nervous because everything's new, right? So they don't really know much. So,
Okay, so I got it. So if I can, everything is going to be a constant negotiation. And as you work with those business owners in those areas, and I'll give you an example that's more pertinent, Kevin, to what you're talking about. Let's just say that an individual decides that they're going to work in a community, and they start working, they signed a 7-year contract, they love what they're doing, but all of a sudden they decide, I want to move my family out of the area into another location because we've always wanted to live here. And so they go 2 or 3 years of working, but then decide, I want to relocate into another area. Is that something that is negotiated in with the business owner and the CAC to support that person wanting to relocate? And so the answer is going to be yes. And what this is, what I will tell you is that it is a constant negotiation. And once the business owners understand that change will be still inevitable, but yet that change won't be painful because you can continually protect yourself by always having enough employees. And that's why Ron says, have enough directors and assistant directors to do the work for you. Just don't limit it. Put as many as you want, because there will be changes. There'll be flex hours. There'll be people that only want to work 1 hour a day. Fine, we'll support that. So I guess my answer would be to you is that there'll be a constant negotiation, and it'll just be decided between the business owner with the support of the CAC director as to how to approach that in the best way for not only them, but in the highest purpose for the employee. Does that make sense?
So there'll be constant recruitment. recruitment constantly.
Well, I would say more
Initially,
than, well, you know what I would say, Kevin, I'd say initially they probably will be, but I think eventually there'll be constant people wanting to come in and work. And that's what I see. When this all really does unfold,
sure.
we'll
For
have
sure.
people will want to work and come in more than they'll be wanting to be recruited. And that people can go and do what they choose and want to do, no matter where it is.
They'll come from all these redundant places as well, like hospitals and government. Those people will be gone and be looking for jobs, and many of those people are very wise, and we can put them to good use. Same with our seniors. I'm contacting a lot of people through live chats on Telegram, so I'm gaining sources and resources. And,
Great. That's great, Kevin. That's really great. So what was that first question you had? I'm sorry, I missed that.
okay, here we go again. I wrote it down.
Yeah.
In the event of Nasara Jasara and everything being completed in 4 to 6 weeks.
I got you. How the educational material. And so the educational material you're talking about, is that the educational material for LWS, or is that the educational material through the quantum computer? What are you asking there?
For the LWS managing directors.
Yeah, well, we will have, this is why, Kevin, we're preparing now. Again, we could have easily waited until after everything occurred and have to scramble and possibly take months to have the information readily available. Now, as we're going through this process and we have this information, and behind the scenes, as we have the Train the Trainer team that have put this agenda together for us, we also have an academy team that are finalizing the agenda for the training academy. All that's being done now.
Excellent.
And so we're going to be ready. There may be some limits. Well, we don't know. We just don't know, but there may be a few challenges as to when we can get started, all dependent upon certain things like an NDA, but we will we're working on what we are going to present in the academy now. And we have the teams that are putting that together.
Oh, great. So okay. Thank you very much, Don. That's very helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome, Kevin. Thank you, my friend.
Okay, the next question is going to come from Jan and Chris. Your mic is unmuted. Please ask your question.
Hello, thank you all for raising the collective consciousness for the entire world. I just wanted to put that out there because I can feel it, and I know 500 of us working together on that is just instantaneously raising the vibration everywhere. So thank everybody here for that. My question is mostly for Dom, but anyone could answer. We have been visualizing being managing directors for quite some time, and we have listened to several of the Zoom calls, and we listened to all the questions, of course, and we keep hearing the words managing director, and I know that I heard Dom in the past say that we're not going to call ourselves managing directors, and so I'm kind of having a glitch as far as I want to see myself as being able to, I want to visualize myself speaking to my directors, and that's what I'm currently working on. So when I'm imagining this in my mind, I keep seeing the Blues Brothers say, we're on a mission from God, so I know that, we are on a mission from God, obviously, but I would like to know, Dom, what words will you be using to describe yourself, or to, how are you going to present yourself to your directors? Thank you.
Okay. You're quite welcome, Jan. And let me say that I think I'll cover this so that there isn't any confusion amongst others that heard your question. I have no problems if you call yourselves a managing director. That's entirely up to you what you should choose to do. We're using the terminology managing director right now as a precursor for us getting to our training academy, so that it distinguishes us that have been learning through this process from the directors that are going to be coming to learn. And so if after the training academy and people start their CACs, you want to be considered a managing director on the outside of it, that's fine. I will tell you this, on my cards that I will hand out to the first grouping of people, I think I have 500 cards that I have the RSS information on. When those cards run out, I don't have any more cards. But on that card, I am a liaison between the humanitarian funds that are out there and the people that are equal to me, but working together to support the community. So I'm like a liaison for that person. I don't really have a title. And as far as being interactive with the CAC the directors in the CAC, I plan to I have a layer in front of me that we will work together. And that's my executive strategy team, because I see myself as a person in the background that will spend most of my time developing a CAC to the point that it can operate on its own and then going to find the next one. And I actually will have a person that will be side by side with me as my CAC developer to find new locations that are up and ready to run. And so I'm not going to call myself a managing director. I'm going to call myself a liaison from the humanitarian funds that are available, that are supporting the communities, to the people that are supporting and working with the people in communities. Does that make sense?
Excellent, excellent answer. I appreciate that. That's what we've been envisioning for ourselves as well. And thank you for clarifying it. I've been wanting to ask the question for a while, but I sort of felt it was a little silly question, but yeah, you really clarified it. So
yeah,
thank
no,
you.
not silly at all. And for everybody else, just use the name that you want to use. It's whatever you feel the most comfortable. Some people have said about being an executive director, and that's okay too. It's whatever you choose it to be that gives you the most joy in doing it. So I don't really need to be on a pedestal of a certain level of directorship. I'm comfortable with being just a liaison, a contact person in between everybody else that's doing all the work. So thank you, Jan. Appreciate it.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, Don, we're going to take another question from the Spanish chat. And this is from Jose Ruol. From my central base, which would be the first CAC, expanding later by developing them in the 4 regions of the country and implementing them in the departments, municipalities, and communities, it would be feasible to work in that direction to make the work of the CACs effective. You know what? I'm sorry, that was more of a statement. Let me go to this other one. Hello, I would like to ask, will the salaries for the same job performed be at the same level everywhere?
Yeah, and so that is a question for everybody to want to know, almost to the extent I wonder through this question if everybody thinking about it right now would prefer Ron to just say to you, you should charge, everybody should pay 10 cents a minute to every employee that should work in every location around the world. And it's just really not possible. Why? Because in every area, it's a matter of the individual conversations you're going to have with the individual people and business owners in those communities. And so it's going to be different depending on where you are, but I guarantee you it's going to be different depending on the area that it's going to support. And so it's really just determining on what you and those businesses and business owners decide is the most equitable for those areas. And we really shouldn't worry about setting any kind of limit or parameters around that, because each of us will have the more than the necessary funding. I hope you all heard Ron when he said that one individual managing director can fund everything in the world. And what he didn't say was more than just one times. I can tell you he probably could have said 100 times with one individual, and that still wouldn't be enough, depending on the funding and the rate of of Zim that that person is asking for. So one person can cover that around the world. So it's just a matter of negotiations. And one business may decide they want to pay their employees this amount, and the business right next to them decides they want to pay this employee that amount. That's entirely up to each individual in support with the CAC directors to come up with. And so I don't see it as being a limit of doing the same thing in all areas. I think it'll be different because I think it'll be directly the responsibility of each individual community to work together to come up with what makes sense, what makes the most sense.
Thank you, Dom. That's great. Now, based on our time frame, Dom, it's 6:39, but we only have 2 more questions. Are we good? Three more. Are we good with that?
Yeah, let's go with it. As long, hey, let's just keep it to one question. If
One
yeah.
question
we can
per
get one question, that'd be
person.
awesome. Yep.
Okay. All right. We're going to open the mic for John D. Go ahead and ask your question.
All right, thanks very much. Thanks, guys, for all you do, as per usual. One quick question is kind of really an admin question. I remember faintly long ago, there was some talk about letting you guys know where we were going to establish a CAC at CAC. Is that still operable? Is it still needed? Or is it a good idea to start one for you guys?
Yeah, it's a good question. And I'm thinking that you're talking about the CAC map. Is that what you're talking about?
Exactly. Yeah, the points on a board thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So it's a great question because I want everybody to hear the answer here. We've had a lot of members ask the question, what's happened to the CAC map? Why is it not active? Can we get it reactivated? Does it matter necessarily where it is? So basically the CAC map was taken down because A, we didn't have the funds to continue having it operating. And B, Ron felt that it was good to be able to see where everything's located, but it was not necessarily that important. That no matter where your CAC is going to be located, it's going to be fine. And depending on how many people are in your area that want to also operate CACs, that's also going to be okay, John, because you work together. The more people you work with, the more people you can support. And so it's not necessary to exactly know where your CAC is going to be located, but a lot of people wanted to have it for reference purposes to see who are in the areas that they might be interested in to then communicate and coordinate with them to work together. But it's not going to be something that is going to be available so that people can contact anyone till after we've crossed this threshold and into the new earth. Then we'll know for sure. But I wouldn't let any of that stop anybody. If you have an area you want to put a CAC in, put it in. We're going to need to help the people. That's what matters. Over 8 billion people, at least on the top of the earth, that we're going to need to take care of. And so that in itself is just a requirement that says, if you have an opportunity to put out a CAC somewhere, just do it.
And exactly for that reason, it's a question of knowing where we could go to be most efficient. That was kind of my thought as well.
Yeah, great. That's great.
Thanks for everything, guys. Cheers.
All right. Much love to you. Thanks for the question.
You too.
Okay, the next question will come from Tikum. Open your mic and ask your question.
Hello, people.
There you go.
Excuse me, I don't speak in English and I need to go to the forum in Spanish. Is possible?
So, Tikum, would you like to go to the forum in Spanish?
I don't understand.
¿Necesita un grupo español?
Yes, sí,
Okay. Sí.
I need.
Mrs. Mouse, can we write her name down? Su nombre?
Yes. I will write it down and send a personal message to Juan.
And
and
we
take care of it.
have a few people here in this group that are part of the Spanish group, so they can communicate with you. Okay. Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Gracias.
Thank you. Gracias. Muchas gracias.
De nada, de nada.
Sanar el mundo.
All right, Dom, I think we could take one more question from
Okay.
Justine or Justum. I apologize. JUSTM. Go ahead and open your mic. Oh, they're gone now. Where'd they go?
Okay.
Okay,
Well, we lost somebody here.
we lost that person, so
Okay.
okay, I think that's it. And
Okay.
I
Okay.
just muchas gracias, Ticom. Adiós.
Gracias.
Gracias.
Escribiré para ustedes. No sé dónde escribir. ¿Dónde puedo escribirles?
Okay.
Family, is there anyone that can translate that real quick for us? And then we will hand it over to Juan. Go ahead and raise your
Okay.
hand.
Perfecto,
Okay.
Ticum. We will communicate to you. Gracias.
Gracias, gracias. Muchas gracias.
Sí, sí.
Okay, so back
Ciao.
to, we are at the end of our presentation, family. Thank you so much. In the future, I just want to remind everybody, if we do not get to your question, you can always send them to myself, Wiley Coyote, or Mr. Mouse, or Dom, and we will make sure we include them into the 5-minute audios. And again, thank you so much for coming tonight and participating in Train the Trainer Day 4. It was amazing. Congrats to Dom. It was a lovely presentation with him and Ron, and I think everybody got a lot out of it. So we're very thankful for tonight. Mr. Mouse, anything?
Thank you, Ara. It's been amazing. It's been very interesting with some of the little steps we've had, and I'm sure Ron had dropped his internet and he's really missing all of this, but he will catch up with us and we'll have it on the next Zoom with everybody. Much love to everybody, and thank you very much for participating.
And let me just say that I actually think it's okay that Ron stepped out, although I have a feeling he's probably listening in somehow because he has that ability. I think we all know that. But it's okay that Ron's not with us. Why? Because ultimately it's going to be our responsibilities anyway. So if nothing else, we can do this in service and support to Ron. Ron doesn't have to be here for us to do what it is that we need to do. What it is that we're being called to do, and most especially what it is that we're all going to be capable of doing. We'll get a little bit of help here in the future with the light wave, and then we're off and running. So be thinking about all this information that we've provided, and then how expansive the information will be. And I'm speaking to not only the people that are here tonight, but the people that are going to be listening to this recording, so that you know, we've had, since we've done these Train the Trainers, we've had an average of 4,000 members view the YouTubes. And so that's quite a bit of support. And as a result of that, that just means that more and more people have an interest to prepare. Well, let's just, for ourselves, take this information and decide how we're going to best use it to prepare those that are going to come to our academy. And then nothing's going to stop us. And as the song came out earlier in the presentation, don't give up. Just don't give up, because it's right in front of us for our taking when the time comes, and we will all do it perfectly. Perfecto, Ticum, perfecto. So thanks to everyone for being here tonight. We thank you. I'm going to stop the recording and then I'll open it up to just say goodnight